Hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, author of The Voices of Hockey, Broadcasters Reflect on the Fastest Game on Earth, a book that is available in audio format. You can find on Audible or Apple Books in that format. If you already have an Audible membership, it's probably about $16 on Audible. If you don't, you can get the free trial and you can download the book for free. Just saying, if you'd be interested in listening to this book, 12 hours of NHL play-by-play broadcasters, 65 of those, past and present, talking about some of the craziest moments and the most glorious moments that they had behind the mic. Also, it's available on Apple Books for $9.99. So if you don't want to go the Audible route and you still want to listen to it in audio, go over to Apple Books. It's a few bucks cheaper than it is on Audible. That's my spiel. That's my plug. That's my pitch. Coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State, 2,454 miles from Little Caesars Arena. Now, I already mentioned we're 2/3 of the way basically into our hiatus, and there's only 6 days left to go before the Red Wings take action against the Ottawa Senators. So we've been tiding ourselves over with men's hockey, and I'm going to first and foremost apologize to the women's team for not even bringing them into the discussion until today, until after all has been said and done and all the excitement and all the celebration. The U.S. women's team beat Canada yesterday in overtime. What a solid and amazing finish it was, the last few minutes of the third period on into overtime. Knight got her 15th goal, broke the record for most goals, most Olympic goals for a player. And then we go to overtime, and Keller, with just the sweetest move, a defender, she is a defender, with the sweetest move to get herself a little bit more open on the right hand side with the puck, get it a little ahead of her and a little ahead of and out of the reach of the defender, and she's able to just sit there and flip that puck over the pads and into the back of the net. So congratulations to Team USA for winning gold. You're doing us proud. You ran the table. You didn't lose a single game in the tournament, and you really earned that great celebration you guys have had. And I was happy to see you all celebrating on the ice, happy to see the coach on the bench just crying, and what a hard earned set of gold medals you guys are all sitting there dangling around your necks right now. So congratulations to you. And returning back to the men's hockey, we will talk about today's two matchups. We got our semifinals going today. We got Canada and Finland, and Slovakia and the U.S. Now, I will say this about Canada, Finland. Anybody watched the game the other day noticed that we'll see that with that hard hit, Crosby went down and went out of the game with lower body. And basically, Cooper hasn't ruled him out, nor has he ruled out Josh Morrissey. So they basically are not IR material, I guess, if there is an IR when there's not like any games after this weekend. But if like he doesn't play, this is the thing. If Crosby isn't in action, I get this alert from my Score app. It's like which team Canada player has to step up if Crosby's not able to make it, and I'm sitting there like, which player? Uh, we've got Mick and Mac on this team, the two best players in the NHL. Yes, Mick McDavid, Mac McKinnon. Okay, then you got Macklin. There's Mac. They're like the top three scorers in the NHL. You got Marchand also. You got Stone, Marner, Suzuki. I mean, I could just keep going with this. What do you mean which player needs to step up? They're all stars. They're all like top of the line. This is a total roster filled with the greatest players right now in the league. So, yeah, I think they got it covered. I feel like the scare was put in them, and I don't think it's going to be as close as the Czechia game. I think they probably pull ahead and have at least a 2-goal differential in this game. I think Canada, the fear of God was put into them where they were, obviously having to score late to force overtime. I don't think we're going to be seeing any of that. Finland's a very solid team, but I don't think we're going to see anything like that. On the other side, you got Slovakia versus the U.S. Now, I do feel like obviously this is going to be the toughest game so far for the U.S., but I feel like a win today I'm at the utmost confident if they can get it past Slovakia that they will take the gold on Sunday. Slovakia is reminding me of Kurt Russell in Miracle when he says, "I'm not looking for the best players. I'm looking for the right players." Well, there's only 7 NHL representing players on Slovakia. Obviously, Sweden, Finland, Canada, U.S., pretty much top to bottom, more or less. There might be 1 or 2 players on Finland that aren't NHL representing players, but Slovakia, having somebody like Tatar, that is technically not an NHL representing player. He's not in the NHL. And look what he's doing. He's scoring goals for this team, and he's brought them into the semifinals. I feel like if the U.S. can beat Slovakia today, I have the utmost confidence for them to win on Sunday, because these are probably going to be the two. Well, this is going to be the most grueling game of the day, I feel, in my own personal opinion. I don't think Canada and Finland will be quite the barn burner that this one is. So we'll just have to see. Obviously, when we come back on Monday, I'll have the recaps of both the games. Actually, all 4 of the games, because there's going to be 2 today, and then there's going to be 2 on Sunday, the consolation game, and then obviously the gold medal game. So my prediction is Canada, and obviously I want to predict the U.S., but I feel like this is obviously going to be the challenge of challenges for them. So Slovakia has been tough. They've been resilient. They weren't undefeated so far in the tournament like the way U.S. and Canada are, but they have definitely shown some serious mettle out of that team, and I definitely am not very easy feeling right now going into this game today. So now that we have talked plenty about hockey over in Milano Cortina, let's bring it back to the States. In fact, let's bring it back to Detroit. I was on a podcast the other night, and it's going to air in a couple of weeks, and I'll give a little bit more information on that when the actual episode comes closer, because there's no point in doing now, because it's not going to be for another few days or so. I'll probably have a little bit more of a plug on Monday. But during the episode, they asked me about players that I would really want to reel in. And one of the players that they asked me about was Elias Pettersson from Vancouver. Now, I will bring up Elias Pettersson because, sorry, Brandon McLean, I'm going to go back to referencing you in your article about, the talking about Evander Kane as a possibility for we're looking for the tough guy. Let's just table all that and let's look at Pettersson. I'll take him. Okay, there we go. I'll take him. But speaking more about the roles that we are looking to kind of fill, or some of the holes that we're trying to fill, we're obviously a lot of the discussion has reached to right wingers and to centers. So speaking specifically on the centers, they're throwing around the name Trocheck and I'm going to say it again, Adel, Nazem Kadri. And obviously those have been, Kadri's been linked to Red Wings talks for a while now. I welcome both of them, honestly. I welcome both of them. We probably only get one of them if we got any of them. But I'm starting to realize some of the help that we need to bolster up our third and fourth lines right now. So I am all in favor of a center coming up. And that kind of has to do with the final segment of this. But we're talking Trocheck and we're talking Kadri. I'd be happy with either one of those two. I feel like we definitely need to shore up our defense a little bit more, and that's where Justin Falk comes in. So I'm expecting once that deadline at 11:59, basically Sunday night into Monday morning, let's see some action going. Let's get Justin Falk. Let's get that offensive capable defender out there with us to help out Sider and become another player kind of like, a Sider kind of like defender where we got the offense and we got the offensive confidence. The other player, though, Kadri or Trocheck, I think I'll go Kadri. And yes, if we're talking about that tough guy element to basically get under people's skins, yes, that's where I say bring on Pettersson. Well, wrapping up the show, just talking a little bit about possible, players' spots being taken from them. that brings me to Ras. Big Ras basically at the center position. He hasn't scored a point in 14 straight games. I think January 5th was the last time he scored a point. So these are the kinds of things that we're talking about when we have a contract that's still left in most of our players, except for the class of 2007 on the offensive side at least. When I say class of 2007, that just means JVR and Showtime. But those are the two that are the unrestricted free agents after this season. I think Kane's pulling at $3 million and JVR's at $1 million in their salaries right now. Those are the two that we may not see, obviously, in a Red Wing uniform next year. But we have plenty of other players that obviously we're locked into for a long time. So if something were to happen where we to get somebody like a solid center, I feel like Ras, we don't get rid of Big Ras. We just kind of option him to the minor leagues or something like that, because that's just the way it is, I guess. But I think that he's probably the one on the chopping block as far as if we got a center in, who we're gonna deal down and drop to the minors. I have to say it goes to Big Ras. Sorry to say that, but when you go 14 straight games without a single point, you obviously become a little bit more vulnerable to these kinds of decisions. Obviously, I'm not a GM. I don't know the first thing about being a GM, but I can sit there and see some of those things. You don't want to get rid of a player. You got too much tied up, and a lot of teams aren't going to want to buy that contract with that many years on it either. Which means we throw you down into the minors until we start to figure a way to bring you back up if we ever do. So I think moving forward, when we get past this trade freeze and moving up, I am more entertained the possibility of a new center to come into to our lineup, and obviously a defender to come into lineup. But tough guy we go, hey, let's bring in Pedersen as well. So what if we do bring 3 players in? I don't know. Probably won't happen, but I think we definitely get 2, one offensive and one defensive player. That's been the show today, folks. On Monday, we'll talk about the semifinals and the gold medal and consolation games. They'll both be taking place between now and Monday. And guess what? The Red Wings, when we come back, we'll be able to say the Red Wings return to action this week. So until then, this has been Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, LGRW from the PNW.